welcome to Module 5 on STPF. We've gotten a lot of interest on this. I think it'll be really exciting, and we have a lot of great speakers today who have been fellows in different settings, and really grateful to have Cynthia here as well.
First up is Ellen Wann, who is a health science policy analyst at the National Institutes of Health, and she completed her AAAS STPF fellowship at the NIH Office of the Director in the Office of Science Policy with the Division of Scientific Data Sharing. So Ellen, take it away.
I'm really happy to be speaking with this group, in part because I was originally part of GPS back when it was GPS Biomed in 2014 through 2017. So I did my PhD at UC Irvine in neurobiology and behavior until 2017. And early in my PhD career, I realized that policy was something of interest to me. And that was in part because I got really involved in the Graduate Student Association at UCI. And also that I was involved as a liaison between faculty and students in my department. And that really taught me that both students really needed a lot of professional development help, and that there were a lot of policy-related issues at the institution level that I was interested in. And some of those experiences were really formative in terms of both what I wanted to do in the future and the kinds of experiences that I gained. So that was really helpful for kind of preparing me for the AAAS fellowship as well, that I was able to gain a number of leadership type of experiences and experiences in communication in terms of organizing events and things along those lines. So in 2017, I then went into a different fellowship prior to the AAAS fellowship. I moved to Washington, DC to be part of a fellowship called the Neuroscience Policy and Advocacy Fellowship, which is a society fellowship that's apart from the society fellowships that you've heard about today. So it's a fellowship that's actually in the advocacy and policy office of the Society for Neuroscience. So I worked with the organization there. And it was a fellowship that mostly, well, first of all, it was quite different in that I was the only fellow and working in a team of mostly public policy professionals. And we were doing a lot of advocacy related work. So it was quite different than my position as a Fed now. But I learned a great deal about things like committee management there, as well as doing advocacy on the Hill, organizing scientists to go to the Hill, things of that nature. And that allowed me then to transition to the AAAS fellowship, which I did from the fall of 2018 until this past spring. And I was a AAAS fellow in the same office that I actually became permanent in at the National Institutes of Health. So I did my fellowship and am currently at the National Institutes of Health in the Office of the Director, Office of Science Policy. And we have a division that's called the Division of Scientific Data Sharing. So I'm really interested in data sharing related issues because they're frankly just so many facets to data sharing related issues, things that I had no idea were even the kinds of the breadth of those issues as a graduate student. As a graduate student, I thought, I'm a neuroscientist. It doesn't really make sense for me to go into some of these policy areas. Which one would be fitting for me? Well, what you find in the AAAS fellowship is that there's a lot of things that aren't intuitively maybe policy issues that that you discover in the process as things that are that have a lot of breadth to them and a lot of complexity. And that's what I've really enjoyed about data sharing. So I've been involved in data sharing in a variety of different ways, both from a development of a policy sort of perspective, which is kind of a combination of committee management, as well as doing a lot of briefings and preparing presentations, a lot of writing related to various issues related to data sharing, as well as kind of, I've worked with data sharing in a tribal consultation setting. So NIH has and all federal agencies actually have a government-to-government relationship with all of the 573 federally recognized tribes. And we actually have formal consultations or conversations with tribes about various issues that we know are particularly pertinent to them and that they have questions and concerns about. And so I prepare some of our leadership to go through those government-to-government relationships. In addition to that, we also do a lot of work with data sharing in public-private partnerships. So in public-private partnerships, well, first of all, policies that are made by NIH are only the NIH-funded research is actually subject to those policies. And so if you have privately funded data combined with publicly funded data, then you have a whole different complex area of considerations and things to wrestle with. So that has been really interesting as well, and working in the public-private partnership area. In addition to that, like my office does a lot of rapid turnarounds for clearance and things of that nature. So the agency has a set clearance structure to for things like everything from if a reporter asks for an interview with a member of NIH leadership, to something like a member of the administration giving a presentation, to something like another agency having a rule or policy that affects all of health. All of those things would come through our office and require kind of review on a really rapid timescale. So I kind of like this mix of things that I get to do on a day-to-day basis, and that every day is not the same, basically. So I do these things that are long-term in terms of kind of the project and the ability to work towards those goals in a similar way as what you do in a binge setting, but also things that are 8-hour turnaround or a very short amount of time. And I also really like the fact that I get to do very collaborative things. And all of these are reasons that I decided to stay on in my office and continue to do some of the work that I originally started as a AAAS fellow. I have been fortunate to take on additional responsibilities in the office, and that is really come about not so much as a result of transitioning from the fellowship into a permanent job, but more so because of gaining more experience and having others kind of trust me and see me as the expert in that field. And that has resulted in kind of me being asked to give the presentations instead of just draft the presentations or things like that. It's also led to me being, in leadership positions within various parts of the agency. So those are some of the things that I do on a day-to-day basis, and I'm happy to talk with you more. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellen. I really liked your point about how your scientific background didn't necessarily line up with the work that you do at NIH. And I think that resonates with a lot of what Marguerite said as well about how the fellowship doesn't box you in. You're given the opportunity to work on a lot of broad topics that you might not have ever considered before. So thank you for that.